Hello, I'm gonna do this as a complete, full, thorough tutorial of what is being said or what I'm working on this video to get it to the best I can. So it's gonna have some of these ones. We're gonna look at all the ones that I connect to mentally to see that, to get that so that person can accept what is kind of happening on the ulterior of that to themselves. But hey, you know what? If initially that you can't handle that another person's expression, then there's something that somebody have found completely wrong. You know, I see this in some of the other stuff. It's not the focus, but when some things take it like a mirror and trying to create those things, some things are impossible. I mean, there's like all kinds of stuff, cookies, whatever. You know, this is of the earth, but we'll continue to get to that or on that point of how we see these things and go for it, and you know that person removed. So yeah, that all right. So let's look at this or pretend that's true, and look at each one of these ones. So it's like, wow, of course, Exodia, ancient jar, which is I can see as the ending metaphorical of the pot of forbidden. I have a lot that I've actually tried to make into comparison of this. Like, I use Thousand Eyes Idols is a pretty good one for a relinquish. It's a very Andromeda way of depicting an idol issue because it sets itself to relinquish the value of what the same, which is kind of the gravity intent of what the ability to one conversation should be anyways. So that's the idol part. So there was another part where I talked about this. There's a fourth section, and to it that there's like what was it, idol, trinket, talisman, and ward. So there's all these kind of things for different kinds of people. So you have things like trinket is a thing that somebody will do to activate something to instigate it to be what it's worth. An idol is the feint of that, or an eddy, and I don't know, a talisman might be like advice. A ward is something repelling those ideas from happening for somebody, and then those things kind of create that. Coming from Moki Moki. So we're gonna look at some of these ones and see how we can turn like the gradient of each card into something that is productive. How we can look at something, return it to where it's from, and then see that to the best of it. Could see that as that. But the intermediate of what is being focused on to get that is kind of not cool. It can be better done to identify something as the thing that it is, to see that far and away depiction. And that's what we're going to work on by looking at cards. Look, here's what's that card? Or let's give one that's unavoidable. What is this card? Hanawa. Or Meta Bat. Here's a Mechalon. So let's take some time to have these to pick what our favorite cards are. That's a pretty good one with the Venus on the Switch, and yeah, I am still a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Switching out on that, and I'm always gonna have the favorite few ones that I use as reference. And it's like, man, like taking all the time to study and take the time to watch it and say that I'm gonna watch it again, that'd be really cool. We got these ones. I mean, just working with Tron before. Baby Dragon. The moon statue thing. I mean, this is like really well-intended insinuations on hypnotism that don't hold propriety. I thought this card was called the Trigon at first, so it's not. Just looking at the environment on what the connect is of each card, and it's like the Nero field is very syndicated with work and things. So it's like those are people I'm around all the time. What's getting normalized, whatever the fillet of Google is. I'm like, that's the last thing I want to get near to, because it's like, put something on Google Lawyer and they'll be like, everything is everything. That's not a depiction of what is happening, and that's kind of what I don't really see that as. But we're working on all these things. It's just, these cards are so enamoring, I say. We're gonna work on it and all the design, but anything that is talked about is talked about. There's no soliciting battery to the conspirator of that and then seeing that as not a part of your life. That's like that being part of your life and thinking that everybody has to take the time to avoid what you think of yourself as a rhyme of battery. That's not true. Nobody has to put up with you like that, and that's not how we design these applications so far and away. Far, close, away, near, responsible, whatever. There's nothing that doesn't depict you as somebody who would be incapable of seeing that for yourself, so why would you take it upon yourself to think that you were that thing or that person who was allowed to stay in the room? Like you won't be this week. I always like the depiction of Mystic Horseman, and then I'm just imagining what it's like to be at the podium of what I'm trying to say and keeping that well and entertaining. There's like all kinds of different subjects that could be metaphored in this, and it's difficult to mine the Yu-Gi-Oh field because it's so. If it was an imaginary place, let's say, and I was trying to talk about something, if the rest at you at what conversation in pretend was that you were gonna say that the belligerent of what you were unable to speak wasn't in the layer of what was trying to be conversated, then I feel criticized by a Yu-Gi-Oh player. See what some of these other ones are. It's like I'm re-looking at the scale of this and then And again, the same repetitive nonsense to gotta focus on my work. So if we had to look at this to pick one of those things, and showing your invasive don't make you right. It's annoying to hear somebody make all this effort to think that they're self-justified making a commotion. I say Chaos Agent is not the pointer of what he's doing. And you know, we have a new point at work. We don't really even need his idea of what he thinks of his self-worth, really. He's just jealous because he has instant competition of somebody who don't consider him. I was looking at all these things about like classes and stuff, and it was like, you know, what was somebody gonna say, of course, in this situation, of what I was saying upon myself? I feel like, you know, if what I was doing on a home goods or was working, then would it really be a different conversation? Or when I get to the 50% line of what that is, will it be like it'll be pressed to what I'm saying? Is no different than how I'm trying to achieve how I'm saying it. I was watching a really good thing from somebody who went on too many dates, Elena Blakely, and she talked about that because she has a really good way of setting up her base to have it where it's like it stays in that median of the resonation of that. So it may be a bit much, but if you look at our favorite cards and stuff, it makes a way difference if you have the real card to look at. And then maybe you could take some time to draw it or make a craft out of it, and then that way it's gonna be so much better. That's what I'm thinking about. I was combining the different two, of like the different stages of the chain to create something to do that, and then that was the complete strategy of that. This one at the end. I like Yugibo as a soft thing, and I was like, I know that eventually I was gonna get some of my friends to watch this, so I was like, how do I create a world that's not because there is weight put onto me in this world. That's why it's like, well, when I'm seeing these two convolutions of what somebody else is and stuff, and that don't really ulterior what I proceed at. So it's a weird feeling to feel that motion and to be still. The wing Karibo, I feel like it's a good additive for my character environment because it's soft and plush and don't really create too much. It has a lot of strong presence because it survives the games, and then it doesn't have like these finalized pieces of drawing, I say. Depends what people like. Maybe some people have different memories and builds to what holds stronger. I'm like, dang, I have to work with my memories. Limited. There's some good ones, and I definitely am gonna create what I find is the, like, putting the commander deck of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards together, which ones I think were good and why I liked them. So maybe if somebody else talks to me in the psychic field, then I'll call that for Jinzo's piece. That what I do is have the planeswalker, well, or the user in my game, or your whatever your character, then use that to see what cards you put on the field, and that's the ritual. Be like, hey, do I ever hear my card? Nah. And then if it has the same kind of personality, then it's similar to what was be seen. We look at each and every card, and yeah, I can tell that there's all data of what is that. It's just seeing how that goes about and all that. That's annoying. I want to create connections with who I want, and then I hope that Arcane shows the ability of what is not necessary to be around. And there's no action to the necessity of what you see as a counter response of somebody saying that as something that they need to think. So when somebody says, wow, why isn't that Darien? I'm going to say, how does Darien create the best platform to excuse yourself in the conversation to then reverse into whatever that is? I can create my own world where it's about myself, and then I kind of was just confused about how that was opposited. You think, it thinks it's like small sectional of what I think is like this only thing that I talk about is kind of alarming to that was not really what was going on. I'm like, all the depictions of things that I really like to see that, wow, taking the opportunity to do that, so rather not me be like at a flaw, and then the flaw is like backspace to my home, and then not even trying, and then when you try to talk about something that I would be talking about, it's like it was not even on the same wavelength because it was associated to what was attached to what you're allowed to think in my area to what was not generated, more complicatedly generated from your internal. I said, yeah, that's annoying because this is my domain. Well, I'm gonna be super nice and take the damage and see if I could see if there's anybody around. So we'll take time. I know at the face value of the quasar that happens on the draw first turn. And saying that to the switch, but it's I'm not permissive of my content being there, because if I was, to do it perfect, then it'd be too good for anything. It's not how it was terraformed. Oh, I'd be like, totally. If you offended Yu-Gi-Oh status, I'd kind of be at a challenge of what I think of this impossible mine. Bro, nobody's asking you what you're doing to be impressed with that, so don't think that. I have my own Hindu idea about myself. And it's not like, oh yeah, I wanted to deceive myself into, like, loserism has a success, it has a victory. Like an actualization climate. Because I built a deck like that, like, well, every time that I've been trying to focus on something like this, then it's always something about something looking like something. looking for. It's like, am I looking for the originals? Yeah, I'm looking for stuff that I know. Yeah, it's like, I'm all mad about that Dark Magician, whatever. Then this, and like, working on the UFO turtle and all that, then it's like, by that time, well, I don't even know. I was like, why am I the only person on the boat of the contrast of, how are you talking about something, or how something talked about, if it's, like, I don't know, not. I didn't go all this way in my life to hear the repetitions of what somebody says so much better about me, for other things to be difficult, and the impossible of what that means for the, not like saying that I don't find myself to that if I was just being connected to what I feel. But it's just like saying that I have emotions. Like, emotions are uncertain, or whatever. Oh, I remember that one. It's like I feel like the activation, or that kind of reminiscent there. If I attribute this, the nightmare card. I was really interested in Nightmare and Pegasus. Highlighted those as being better graded. So it's like, looking at all the cards, you'll see all the cards, you're like, I don't know what I think of those ones. And then we'll put cards together and see which those are ones. And then maybe you'll have a day or an experience where a card is something that you felt was similar to what happened that day. And you'll think of that card. I am the IRA, so what do you think this is? I think my own interests are not protected. Just because it's data doesn't mean that you're not doing something. Disney Plus can refuse whatever, but it don't mean you get to tell somebody what they're doing and that's their in consideration to what they're up to. That's not what you got going on. I don't really see the consistencies of defending that anyways for you. I really like this card. I made a deck with it, and I'm like, what a rogue to have their card of their main deck that they made to be the one that has a ban on that. I'm like, what were the cards that could even make that so much? It's complete templating. That's so cool. I usually think it would be things like this. Totally. I saw like all the other stuff and I was like, when are we gonna get the other package to make something look like so staple and to that and that, what the sufficiencies of somebody telling me that they're so much better than me to apply things to what makes my life better. It's negligible. It's like somebody trading something to outstand the other half. It's whatever. It's not somebody who wanted to help me out. Alright, so yeah, I think that's maybe like on that part a bit. I can tell by that detection that you're not as mature. You're not gonna carry the same values through. You should look at a quote that nobody looked at because it has no value. That's how worthy my work is, or might not work because of the whatever. Saying to do something like that, it's kind of battery. Just watching this She-Hulk lawyer thing and then having something batter me through this thing. They're so excited to operate through this as well. Just because metering data to do whatever you want, you think. Your family is just gonna be larger when it is active and more powerful, and nothing insinuant of anything like this. A reality check, not something that you're gonna be able to Geiger the whatever. I mean, what a trade-off for the reality. The girls of Failure Family, just wow, you just didn't do anything. Yeah, my company is just sailed by just pretty much me. You're I told you I was sick of being connected with whatever decided that being not connected was more meaningful to saying that I'm not connected to be something, starting with a theoretical statement, and now we're not here. And that's how conversations don't start. They're not because your condolences to doing something to what is saying that I'm saying that you can't handle that factor to just low quality. How did I talk to the Michigan urology? And so it's like saying of all the questions for somebody to ask about said person that I'm unapplicable. First off, what person has gone beyond to be able to say something that they're saying if they were saying it to said person, as in myself, is how not tolerable it is for you to bug me, Darian Fimisane of Failure Family. You're too slow to protect yourself. This is it was just pathetic. It's supposed to be scaling, from working on something to build that to that point, which we will. It's just at that zero of the contrasting of what somebody is not and the ability of that, and just the courtesy calls of somebody. And I hope this person does their job because I just really don't see how they are doing that. This is the best that you did for Darian? Are you serious? Is Darian even like a household name? That's the question. I could believe anything by the designs of what you could watch, as in the metering to the subscription to anything, like anything that you would think to anything, sometimes is there. But it's just you're doing nothing to benefit me, and that's all you're supposed to do. Whatever benefiting you. How is that not an attachment? I didn't get all this way to not get help for somebody to make it so I don't have to put the effort like this. Like it's like the backspace of putting the effort to say something like this to tell me that effort is working like this. If I didn't like the decryption of what was being said about something, for you to say it, for me not to hear it, to saying acknowledging it to the things that I don't speak of you, then it's not what I consent to be worked on. And I'm still Darian T. Fimis saying that's still what I would signature on anything medical, anything consent form would say. You don't get that, and you don't think that by what you're not saying is your ability. Don't ever talk to me in any way. If don't not talk to me because I am not talking. Whatever, I hope I find somebody who knows how to speak and knows that all the work that I did was to do something that I already am, and that I'm with, and that communicating does so much. Yeah, I mean, these are just a good hue of cards. The other tanning a bit. The 2100. Oh, it's actually a different card. Trying to get past that career day status. I was like, wow, you're pathetic. You're gonna like revert to what I've done for myself to have somebody within myself say that to what I'm saying. Every time that I feel that there's corruption to what my Google voice says, because I didn't know that my own voice was not going to be property of mine, that I was like, hey, why is something that I say not the production of what I'm trying to work at? So I was like, oh, okay, there's just this layman's of this wall of what I'm saying, and then the continuance of that. That's completely normal. That's how I feel about that. You know, if I don't make a friend, I'm gonna be kind of pissed off. I'm not gonna just be in contact with people living in a theoretical absence of my own existence on the dependency of me and not get help at M of U to get write-offs to do whatever. It's a joke. The sex industry is boring. That's what I think. You're a joke. Don't tell me I'm a joke inside my own thing. Get off my voice. Get off my Google voice. I'm pretty sure those are my neuro to speech properties, so I don't know why that was explained upon, if it was ever. Yeah, you feel like it's just say whatever you want. It is not. Why don't you live out your idea of what that is explained to me, and then do that in your own happening of being able to speak that way? This is my own field, my own domain. So I don't know how that happened. I felt Vampire Kingdom was gonna be really cool because it was very desolate. We have the angry chicken. So I'm combining those two. I think I'm just gonna. Hopefully, it's not like, I can't see this. Yeah, it's just whatever. It's not really that to see that somebody says that in a room and listens to the battery of what they didn't do to somebody because it was like extortion, and then you hear somebody say something to you and they're like, oh yeah, that's so what I solicit and do with everybody else, and that my words that I vocation aren't worth any money if that I spoke them. That's a piss off sometimes. I'd be like, just take a moment to let me tell you that you're wrong, so I can create that place where I'm wrong, which you don't entitle me to, so that you could learn the order of that. Hey, I don't want to listen to some weird bar eccentricism of being better or older and then not being able to live that out and returning. This is like what I want is so mutual. Whatever, your redundancies on a security of what you say to me is that you never said it, and that's the only confidence in you living to that revival of your own opinion. If you didn't have the conveyor of my energy, what would be the waste of time of being at what you are? Wouldn't be talking to you, wouldn't think it through that way. Why would there be any convolution to what you think? Said, wow, next time you talk to those girls, I'll be like, hey, you know what? The depiction of what you see to the observations of the collaborators in my life is not enough for you to be so beyond just yourself to create your observations of what a person could be. If you signatured it like said person could be whatever, then we wouldn't run into these kind of problems. Now it's like knowing you is like knowing that nobody wants to talk to you or people like Kristen. You better explain to me who likes me, or somebody explain to me at least who likes me. I find it funny that all the people that got to rape all the people below in that situation just by rhymes of reality was a method. Yeah, that's real tough. And what I need to do is get the chain of the call to get that and actually get calls to the thing that I wanted to do, where I was talking about the triangle of what I did, which I presumed that the PayPal police officer at the area was a person who was going to be like somewhat knowing. I didn't want it just to be data, and that somebody thinks that they can just tell me that I'm a snitch or whatever, and is a no-show, and is just going to be hide behind that in Suite B. That's a problem with me. I don't think they should be in Suite B. I think I should ask for a military lawyer and say, hey, the same thing I think about my sex life is the same thing I think about my military status. If I was to ask if there's anybody who is saying something, anything for what they would be wanting to employ for Darien, then are those people taking the advantages outside of the military to say somebody is more in the military to be able to get those claims on something on which is like equally sometimes in that area to be the same effect. and then I was writing paragraphs on the sequence of the user, uh, the military boy, and then it was in a different reference of that, and saying that they had probably been given the Medal of Dishonored and Medal of Defamy. So on those ones, it's like a trident as somebody who has the Medal of Honor, and I've seen that on TV when I was watching it, and that's like saying that's from a different perspective, use like how I was saying on the different character of that. But they just seem exactly, very disgruntled, very similar to what I had seen in the design of that said other one of Galvin, the military boy, grayish. I didn't put all this energy into why is the things that I was working on not working to how I wanted it to. All that for some kind of change in somebody's understanding of whatever. That's what I think solely is a market impacting factor. Hey, if the difference of my life was embarrassing, then what did you do in the traditional of making my life better to be a part of it? Is the only thing that you didn't do to have all these reverse effects. I'm just mad. It's like a bubble of not making poetry for somebody to not have an explanation to me about something stupid. Yeah, and I'm not small as I am views depicting. It's like I got hit with like a freaking like like very cold or like a steel thing that hurt, and then I remember the pain. Yeah, we're gonna look and see that to what I see that, and I refuse. I was like, wow, my first nobody conversations with myself were real interesting. I hate that. I'm doing great. It's just how I don't know how that happened for somebody to see that the imagination that the like something doesn't get worked for their insecurities or whatever. People like that need to quit clinging on to stuff. Mini fridge, piss off. And so much protection behind hiding behind my uncle and said cousin to, not be too happy about that. And if that don't clear, then a lot of things don't clear as an interest. Hide behind a fucking mini fridge. What a fucking joke. You're a joke. You don't protect your family. Ha, I'm the only one taking my damage, and I know how to fix a lot of stuff. And I did fix that water heater to the most part, and I did learn new things. And I am grateful for YouTube because I learned it from YouTube. So I see that as what I'll be grateful for to learn from, and that what I'll give back to. And that's what I see that. So I think that it's redundant that somebody capsizes whatever they think to protect their ability to see space. Oh yeah, I I'm so in my own privacy that I'm speaking from my own conversations. Me thinking I'm getting bugged from something don't mean that I'm getting bugged from anything. I'm just stupid and I don't know what happens to me. I was like, why doesn't a girl who's in their, they're 14 a month and or 16 or even anything, or somebody who was in the capacity of their own job ever show any interest? That we have to be in such a situation where we're playing commander versus reverse commander. Which there's progress in that, but it's like through this whole convey of what we learned, I'll take it as what it is. It's just so formalitied into what is not our propriety, and I disagree. But that's not the extent area of what I think about Google Law. I think that we are only the extension of our body, and that's the only at time that each moment creates an impulse, and that's how it goes. Not the router of what's intended, all the networking. That's uncomplicated to how law could be fixed for me. Everybody loves Yu-Gi-Oh! Everybody works on Yu-Gi-Oh! Why you have focal points on anything is whatever to you, whatever you think. The whatever that was not there was not there. And I'm trying to see why somebody looks me in the eye and is trying to not create that relationship to be something to whatever they're doing, to not help out, to whatever. I'm real confused. I'm gonna be a lot more aggressive to not getting that. And I'm like, wow, got all the way to this point to be with my body and at the state of what I'm being, to just create the manifold of what that is to work on, to create that better, and then comparative to that one, to this one, to think that I don't weigh anything on myself. It's just that I feel that I'm perceptive to somebody saying that I don't acknowledge my own weight as this own person that I am, to use that as that I am using myself to do what I'm doing, that there is weight. There's just not this ignorance of where something is coming from and the ownership of that intellectual property, entity, or energy. That's not fair. That's not gonna write code to be where it belongs. That'd be so cool if it got there. If it got there, then this whole conversation would be non-existent, and I would be able to be working on that other office space that I was thinking of. I saw a great book, and it was like what was wrong with me is that I look at something that is like this book of the renovation, and then I do that. The house is itinerary to the algorithm, so when I hear somebody who didn't create the efforts to do what they're doing talk about something that they're incapable of, it confuses me. I want to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh when I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm talking to some bitch who thinks that they're having an attitude about me playing Yu-Gi-Oh because there's some nobody 28 Alabama living outside of a jumping McDonald's window trying to apologize for all the help they have gotten for adapting to be what you wouldn't wanna. The only thing you have going for you marginally is your body. Everything else that you hightailor is just a nuisance of trust. I would love it to be a conversation if you put it onto the table. This has been so boring. I'm going to do something else so you can prove to me how boring everything is. So you can talk about what you got going on with my money. Bro, I'm so fun and I get down to every conversation. Just to tell me that I accept myself as what I am. To tell me that whatever. That's frustrating. I know I cannot talk. I didn't talk well this time, so I'm gonna give somebody following my class spiritually with me the time to look at this on their own and then maybe see that. Yeah, I'll take the time, and I am working on the commander deck, and I am trying to make it easier. Well, I don't want to make, if I don't feel that I'm supposed to make progress, then I don't do that. I just don't like that the difference of these dual diagnostics, first person is wrong, try to correct, they're wrong. It's a habit. We all have habits. But that justification to what I nurture, to what I value, to that is defensively what I do not want. So then I say, why, if there's something there to what I value as to what I do not want, I'm like, wow, what great reliance. How supportive. Just to be with like people who are like, I'm not this of what I want, to try to woman somebody into a relationship, and then you're like, wow, I don't want to be your body parts, and I was working on actually being myself because that's what I was working on. To know, it's just not really a thing. Well, that's an embarrassment. I'm definitely gonna complain to the M of you, but I'm definitely not even whatever. I can see that, a bit skinny, and then having Cassie around in whatever form she's in, she don't benefit the field. And then every time it's in some kind of table talk, you're always hearing something, and then somebody creates, obvious and whatever play of that. When I'm reminded to what it is to me, and then I can figure, then maybe I'll care. We'll work on it. Every word is a discrepancy of the how words entangle to being supportive, and how somebody don't deserve to pretend to hear that. I guess that's just all that I really have on the ulterior is set like the few people that I knew. Not that I was saying that's just like the worst thing, but it's just kind of GY that it's just all this rigorousness to being sensitive, and then just whatever. Really, I expected better. I expect better than just to be embarrassed to think that the design of what I faceted is my gem of what I create is something that I'm building, or that I am, because there's no responsibility, necessity. Oh yeah, you're real great. It's a question. It's a question. Hey, the consideration of what was better than me was just something I didn't. I don't know where this conversation is going. There's gonna be somebody better than you at something else, and then what would even be your reference? Whatever. I'm out of here, and I'm getting offended, and I'm working on a lot of stuff, and then I don't know, just the charcoal of that. Better work on something, be a bit nicer, and then just expand upon this list. Try to. You're like, why are you doing this? Is that a set environment? Da da da. I'm gonna try my best to make friends that get me into this next area of speaking on to the next thing. And then, some people that can take the victimized of actually knowing they're wrong, because progressively the only things that are going wrong are through this role play. Or if you had to hear things that go wrong to like somebody, then who imagines who you've been in with the bathroom, or in the bedroom, I meant. It's embarrassing enough that I'm not trying to speak to you. You know that the opinion is quaint, and that I'm looking for conversations that happen within that conversation, not having one. Because that's what I'm proving in law, not having a conversation. That there's no applied force to listening to something. So when I don't have something to prove and that's being talked about, then that is a state. And I'm working on things, and more than just the center of what the bridge or the visor of what I say in anything that I say. I'm working on it. I'm working on it really hard. I'm observing things. I see what benefits, what works, and I'm working on that. But I don't really feel, it's a change in what I feel is necessary at that time to work on that and mantle it correctly. We'll take a time in during that to look at each and every card, and I want him fixed like that. I don't want him talking about the same things. I don't want the same person in the Neuro Circle just throwing rings around saying the same thing. And I don't want somebody to be the first one to not admit that their wrongness of how they're going about it doesn't really change who they are, and that's the thing being graded. Until there's any beneficiary point that you are able to start, or those other people in those Klingon medical system groups are able to start the conversation about what they did in linear to the wavelength of what you were talking about, would be a great introduction to doing that. Until I see those conversation skills, then I'm not having conversations. And I can't forcibly have a conversation on the same pedigree of my status with said people that had ignored me prior. So That is a whole lot different. I will not take offense in my in other areas, but I will not take offense in my administrative room, and I'm not gonna take offense, and I won't take offense from what I see that to something being about me. Alright, I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to see the best work that I did for that, whether it's like that, and then it is kind of like, it was just more honest that I was creating that from that, and I really see that this is coming out as great artwork, a great piece. Thank you for watching video 50, and then hopefully as the evolution to 100, and then a lot of the issues that are retained on the event horizon fold to getting that over. That would be so great. And always make a movie reference.